Hello, and welcome to Greek the Week. I am Mona Duncan. This program is dedicated to living in the now and learning to embrace everything with gratitude and see it as a lesson learned and to begin to learn and to move on. I am Mona Duncan. I am a life coach and a speaker, and thank you for being here live, and then those that will be watching at a later time. Today's topic is on time and money management and organization. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. If there's anything that what I teach is just things that I have begun to practice myself and have learned from, and if they've been effective, I like to pass them on and share them. So if you think they'll work for you, if it resonates with you, take it and share it, and we'll go from there. So bringing up the screen, and I put this here for us to go from the beginning of it. Okay, there we go. So have you ever felt like if you had just a couple more hands, you could get things done on time and be timely and all that? And yet that doesn't work either. Although we don't get the extra hands, it's how we use the hands that we currently have. So the objective of our little chat today is to gain tools that will help you to increase your personal productivity, to reduce work time while increasing efficiency, to reduce stress and frustration, and to develop a system for managing commitments, whether that is home, community, workforce, whatever it is. So because we have a tendency to keep all these things in our mind rather than writing them down, we have a lot of brain drain. A lot of the things that we do is we hold on to it, we try to figure it out in our mind rather than kind of putting it down where we can see it and organize it. And so we become exhausted. So I love this quote from the Book of Words, and it's by the Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. And he says, no, I didn't mean to stop sharing. Maybe I didn't. Okay. Pardon me. Okay, here it is. From the Book of Words by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. Each uncompleted task has its own claim on our freedom, and finishing them liberates us. Sooner or later, as the clock ticks down, we take whatever remains, stack it all in a neat pile on the corner of the desk, and renounce its claim on us. And that is excellent advice. That sometimes we just need to put it all together for another time, another day. So before we continue, I want to look at some definition of words so that we'll be on the same page as to what I am meaning. Well, you'll hear what I'm saying. So one is to what is effective. And effective is producing the desired result, not getting in the ballpark, but actually producing the desired result. But we also want to look at being efficient. And efficient is work saving and time saving and energy saving and saving on stuff or saving on what. Okay. I like to look at a car. So you have a car that is effective in that it will get you from point A to point B, but it may not be all that efficient in that it is a gas guzzler, it is a oil burner, it rides rough. So it may be effective, but it's not efficient. And I want to be both and, not only effective, but also efficient in not using more consumable products than's needed and in not using too much energy, using just the right amount. And then always in planning, we need to look at what. and be specific, whether it is home, whether it is community engagements, whether it is work. Be specific and what the what is. And then not only the what and the planning, what you need to do there, but the scheduling as to when. Also, often we have all of these big list of things to do and things to do, but we haven't scheduled in when, and then it gets around to never accomplishing. And always looking at personal management, managing our own person, the thoughts we think, the actions we do, the attitudes we project, the results that we obtain. And then also looking at our vision. What is our vision? It's having a clear sense, internally as well as externally, a clear sense of all the possibilities. Realizing that as we delve into anything, more things crop up. Some things are really good, some things may not be quite so good. And looking at the commitment, and that commitment there begins to look at what the possibilities are. So I'm sure you've heard this before, that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I like to add another question to that, or add a question, and that is it enough? I don't want to keep getting what I've always gotten. I want everything to improve and to have more freedom and more graciousness. So right here, I'd like you to look at this, and then we're going to look at each one independently. I have this time, not that we could balance everything out, not that it's all exact, but we have time stealers, we have time makers, we have time takers, and we have time wasters. And it depends on how we use each one of those things. So for a few minutes, I'm going to stop and show you here. I have that graphic here on my chart. There's time stealers, and usually it's those problems that all too often turn into crises. They kind of grow on us. And they grow on us if we have not taken enough time with our time makers to learn and to grow into peaceful negotiation, into a peaceful way of handling things, whether it's and looking at the time takers. We all have time takers. I call them the thankless part. You know, it's the things you do that nobody ever says thank you for. But if you don't do it, it's, you know, well, why didn't you this? Why didn't you that? And sometimes those things are thankless things that it's for ourselves, you know, like paying the bills. And we don't pay the bills until it becomes, oh no, it's due tomorrow. So now I've got to put everything else on hold so I can go get the money, so I could go, you know, that, I guess I'm talking about the people that don't have the, or don't need to learn how to use the times to send it and to get it from the banks and so forth. But what happens is all too often we wait until these time takers, until it's actually the time, until it comes up here, and we cram it into the crises. We cram it into the stealer of our time. And then what happens all too often is we don't really get into these time makers, and we let these stealers just completely encompass all of our time and all of our, and we go down here into that time waster, and it becomes Calgon, take me away. I don't care if that's the deadline. I want to sit here in front of this movie and just zombie out. I don't care. I don't care. We get into the I don't care mode. So what I'm wanting to look at and to expand for us is to how we take these time makers. I maybe should have a different color pen here, so that we take these time makers. That's what our time's going to be looked at, is taking these time makers so that these problems that leads to stress become more minuscule and more doable, more that we can handle. And these things about thankless, we just realize that everybody in the world has those thankless things that we do that keeps life running well, and we don't even, you know, but just to always have a thankful spirit. So I'm going back to sharing. And we will share with each of these independently. So, time stealers. These are some of the things that cause problems. These are things that we react to and we get caught up in them. They're those little fires that always happen. It's the things that seem urgent. It may be the ringing telephone. It may be the deadline. And you know, a deadline for something is important. It is those things that scream at you. You see them everywhere. They're just yelling at you. It's those things that have deadlines and they're just looming that, oh no, this is coming up, that's coming up. And whether it's a social engagement or a deadline at work, whatever it is. And these things begin to work on you. They may have been something that you decided yourself, but you have allowed it to become that external control that is pushing you down. It is working on you. And the result becomes much stress and just burnout. And who cares? I'm quitting this. Well, those time takers, these are those things, they're necessary. You know, getting beautiful is necessary. Personal grooming, they're necessary. I'm paying the bills. It's something that's necessary. Cleaning the house, doing the laundry. They're necessary. They're routine. I mean, no matter how many times you do it, you have 3 meals a day, and the next you'll probably have more snacks, and there's more those routine things that just keep that, and they're usually pretty mundane. Sometimes even going out to eat, oh no, you know, I just they become mundane, they're kind of thankless. So how we begin to move these into the success column is to begin to simplify them. Begin to eliminate. What can I do with that? What can I to make it more simple? And what can you delegate? What can you ask someone else to work with you? Maybe as a helper. What can you hire out? What can you say no to, and in the process feel good about it? And then we look at the time wasters. It's those things that are irresponsible. They're pleasant to do. They provide little to no productivity. They are irresponsible. They are time consuming, and they're guilt producing. And of course, this can include you. Someone that may say, well, you mean I'm never to watch TV again? Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, why don't you not keep watching for everything that comes on next? So those things that your aim is to reprioritize and to reschedule when it is more convenient. Maybe tape it so that you can use it and watch Wheel of Fortune, and whenever your kiddos come over, your grandchildren come down, so that it can be a family affair. And you can still so the success column includes being proactive, not waiting to the last minute. You've made a commitment to know when it is, be prepared. You want to be efficient, like that car. We don't want to waste gas. We don't want to waste the fuel, and we don't want to have a rough ride. We want to get there smoothly. So being proactive helps. It's looking at what is very important and putting it in a priority. It is planning, scheduling, and organizing. It is maintenance. It's kind of similar to proactive, but like your car really does need to have an oil change every so many thousand miles. And so it is being proactive. It is preventative. You know, it's taking your shots. It's going to the doctor to be healthy, to make sure. Preventative. It is, and these things begin to work in you. They begin to motivate you to do them. And the result is growth and peace and productivity. So, is everyone there? I've lost my view of who's here and who isn't. Anyway, here's a little graphic that I drew. Because in looking at all these things, here's the clock. We have the clock, the calendar, time. We have Chronos time, which is right here, right now. It's the only thing that's what we live in. And then we have eternal time that will get here eventually. And and then there's money. Money comes into all of this. And there's an endless supply of money. And then, many people say, oh, there certainly isn't in my life. Well, there really is. I mean, how many things do we have? How many talents do we have that we don't know how to use them? And then we're not using them in a way that is productive for us, not only community building and inspiring, but also bringing in needed income. And then I put a heart here and love as our treatment. How do we treat ourselves? How do we treat others? And I put a loaf of bread here to represent nourishment. How much do we nourish ourselves? How much do we nourish others? And sometimes in looking at our life and then adding all these things up, because they're all a part of that quadrant there that we've been looking at, as we look at all that, this bread down here, sometimes we begin to slice it up and we say, oh, wow, I have so much in my life. We slice it up and we begin to look at, this is work and this is home and this is family and this is entertainment and this is it. And we begin to look at it and we get all confused. And we look at the and it's beginning to simplify. So as we can think about the barriers that we have in our own mind, that's where it starts, for efficient and effective time management and organization, and then to begin to work on creative ways to solve them. So those time takers, it's time taking to try to multitask because you really can't focus on time that well. The effective use of time is giving focus to, trying to be as organized as you possibly can. Monitoring those interruptions. Nike time, do it now, not later. And take care of it as soon as you can. Procrastination is the theft of our time. It takes as much energy to plan, to paint a masterpiece as it does to doodle. And so how much do we waste our gifts, our own talents, by all the doodling that we do, all the unnecessary things that we just are time fillers. And so for every hour of pre-planning that we put into something, it shaves off up to 4 hours of how much it will take to actually develop that. Being proactive is super important. So simplify and eliminate or delegate. It is reducing clutter because you can never organize clutter. Now I put a picture here of a little corner in my office that to me it's pretty cluttering, but everything is right there. I mean, it's not as well organized as some of the other things that I have in the home, but it ceases to be clutter when it is organized in such a way that it's easily accessible. So everything that we have needs to have a home so that it doesn't just sit out and become clutter that is stressing on you. The importance of having a to-do list and balancing that 2-minute rule, that if you can do it in 2 minutes, go ahead and do it. But if it's going to take, if you have 20 2-minute rules, then put them all aside until you can do what is the most important. On looking at your to-do list, you want to schedule what you want to do and what what the priorities are. And you do incorporate your whole life, even though some of it may be work time and some of it may be entertainment time and some of it may be just living life time. Break things down into small steps. list in order of importance and stick to it until it is completed. The story of Charles Schwab, probably around 100 years ago with Bethlehem Steel, but it's still effective today. I still use this. I learned this way back many years ago. When I continue to use it, it's still effective. But a man named Ivy Lee, or Lee Ivy Lee, I'm not sure the first name, last name that goes together. Anyway, Ivy Lee went to Bethlehem Steel and talked with Charles Schwab, asking him for 15 minutes of his time and his employees' time so that he could help them learn to be more productive in their work. And he offered him to, he said, take it, use it, and pay me what it's worth. Anyway, Charles Schwab says, I'm on my way to catch a plane. I don't have 15 minutes for you. I'll give you 10. And so Lee Ivy said three things: to look at everything you need to do before you go to bed, before you leave work every day, before you go to bed every day. Write down the 6 most important things you must do tomorrow. 6 most important, and write them in the exact order of the importance. And then the first thing in the morning, you start on number 1 and you stay with it until it's completed, until you wipe it off, until you mark it off of your to-do list. It is completed. And then you go to point number 2, and then you go on down. And so, but the day is over with and you've only gotten number 1, that you have accomplished number 1. And even though there are still important things on the list to do, it is so freeing because the most important was accomplished. And the story goes that at the end of 6 months, Charles Schwab received a check for $25,000. In delegating, it's realizing, and sometimes why do we not delegate? We need to use our social capital in ways that brings people in so that we all work together. So why do we not delegate? Maybe we think it'd take too much time to train someone else, even to training our children and our grandchildren, helping them to put their toys away rather than just leaving them. You know, how to help clean up the kitchen. It does take time, but in the long run, and we've always got to look at the long run, in the long run, it is more productive to make the time here so that it is more enjoyable in the long run in the doing of it, and then is good for the whole. Also, we don't delegate, fear of making mistakes. Maybe you enjoy what you're doing, and that's good, but maybe you could enjoy it more if you had others giving some input or some help. Here's probably the main reasons of not delegating, is that fear of giving up control, the fear of becoming invisible, and needing all the credit. So I'm going to stop for today. And here's just a little poem, something to think about. Take whatever has been useful and use it and tweak it so it becomes your own. But my wish for you is a progressive blessing. May you awaken each morning filled with excitement over a new day. May you revel in challenges presented and humbly triumph. May you embrace change as the life-giving force that it is. May you be empowered to risk success. May you experience restful sleep and pleasant dreams. And may the last thought of your day be a simple thanks. Thanks to what you've done, thanks to the people that you have been involved with, thanks to the success made. And so this concludes our little time together today for the recorded part. And thank you for being here, and many blessings and peace.